Hello to all my dear friends who have visited my YouTube channel. Today, I've come with an engaging story from 1001 Nights to start this video. These are stories that have captivated audiences for centuries, drawing everyone into a world of meaning and the art of storytelling found in the tales of 1001 Nights. I hope you enjoy this film and take pleasure in the captivating world of this story. Be sure to subscribe and share your comments and suggestions with us in the comments section. Thank you for joining us, and get ready to watch. The night after, as dawn approached, Dinarzade, like the nights before, woke Scheherazade from her sleep and said, "Dear sister, if you are not asleep, please continue the rest of the story." Scheherazade, with the permission of the noble Shah, spoke thus, "O gracious Shah, when an old man, accompanied by a female dog, saw a genie intending to kill a merchant with a cleaver, he intervened involuntarily between the genie and the merchant, kissing the hands of the genie and beseechingly said, 'O King of Genies, I beg of you to hold back your hand and not commit this act, so that your wrath may subside a little. I have a very interesting and entertaining tale to tell you. If you find it more captivating than the merchant's story, refrain from killing him in this manner. But if not, then you may proceed to kill him. I humbly implore you to grant clemency to this poor merchant, to pardon 1/3 of his punishment." Upon hearing the words of the old man, the genie pondered deeply and after a while said, "Very well, I agree with your words. Open your ears and listen to my tragic tale." The old man and the female dog said the following: "Open your minds and heed my woeful tale. This female dog you see before you is my cousin's daughter, or rather, I should say, my wife. 12 years ago, I married her, and being much older than her, I had a paternal and elder demeanor towards her while also being her husband. 22 years passed in our marital life, but due to my wife's infertility, we did not have a child. To keep her from being upset, I provided her with various amusements and endeavored to keep her completely satisfied. Since I desired a child, I purchased a slave girl only for the purpose of having a child. God granted us a son through that slave girl, who was beautiful and intelligent, with a bright future ahead. My wife could not bear this child and his mother and felt intense jealousy towards them, although she concealed her jealousy from me. It was only later, when it was too late, that I realized my son had grown up and reached the age of 10. One day, while leaving the house to attend to some business, I entrusted my son and his mother to my wife, whom I did not trust. I gave her all sorts of instructions to take care of them during my absence, which would last a year, until my return. During my absence, my wife took advantage of the opportunity to indulge in her jealousy and hatred to the fullest. She learned the art of sorcery and, after acquiring sufficient experience and knowledge in this field, one day she took my innocent son to a distant place and, using magic, transformed him into a calf. She then handed him over to one of my subjects to raise and fatten him. She told my subjects that she had purchased this calf to raise it. Likewise, she turned my son's mother into a cow and entrusted her to the same subjects, telling them that she had purchased this cow to milk it. When I returned home from my year-long journey, I found no trace of that slave girl and my son. My wife told me that the slave girl had died and that your son had been missing for 2 months, and I don't know where he went. I was deeply saddened and affected by the untimely death of my slave girl, but I still had hope in my heart that I would search everywhere for my beloved son. I said to myself, one day, my son will be found. A father cannot give in to despair and hopelessness. Some time passed, and Eid al-Adha arrived. It was necessary for us to sacrifice a cow or calf. My subjects brought a cow from the village for sacrifice on that day. Later, it became apparent that this cow was the same innocent slave woman, the mother of my lost son. I tied the cow's legs to sacrifice it, but I saw tears in the cow's eyes, and it cried. With its pleading gaze, it conveyed to me to show mercy and not to kill it. This heart-wrenching scene transformed me, and I felt compassion and sorrow for the poor cow. I told my subjects to take away the cow, and my wife, witnessing this scene, became furious at my compassion. She saw that with my sympathy, I was disrupting her plans for the cow and cried out angrily, "What are you doing? Why don't you sacrifice the cow? Your subjects don't have a better cow than this one. Besides, other cows are not as fat as this one." Again, to please my wife, I went back to the cow and tried to suppress my compassion. I attempted to sacrifice the cow, but this time, the innocent animal began to cry and beg more earnestly, urging me to spare its life and not spill its blood. Again, the beautiful and pleading eyes of the cow moved me, and I told my subjects, "Take this cow away, and I'll sacrifice it myself." This wasn't my plan, though. When the cow looked at me, I felt the pain and sadness in its heart. My wife, seeing me hesitate, became angry and demanded that I sacrifice the cow. Finally, my subjects took the cow and immediately sacrificed it. But at that moment, I realized that the cow was just a pile of bones with no flesh. I told my subjects to take it away and give it to the poor, and instead, if they had a fattened calf, to bring it for sacrifice. I didn't realize at the time that those rural subjects had done with the bones of that cow, but they went and brought a plump calf for me to sacrifice. Although I didn't know at that moment, this calf was my beloved son whom my wife had transformed through magic. But as soon as I faced him and looked into his eyes, I felt a special affection and love for him, and the innocent gaze of that animal shook me. He, too, seeing me, tried with all his might to break the rope and come to me. Eventually, with great effort, he broke the rope, ran towards me, and put his head on my feet, sometimes rubbing against my legs, trying to win my mercy in a way that showed he was not just a calf but my dear son who had fallen into this state. The state the calf brought out in me was much more impactful than the tears shed by the poor cow. I was deeply moved by human or perhaps unconscious paternal emotions to the point where I lost my strength and refrained from killing him. It's as if nature or the Creator revived this emotional decision in my mind. At that moment, I turned to my subjects and said, "Take this animal back to its place and take good care of it. Let me sacrifice it next year." My wife, who was present, cried out as soon as she saw this scene, "What are you doing? Listen to me, and sacrifice this calf, which is very fat." I said, "My dear, I can't imagine killing this animal. I will keep it, and I ask you not to oppose my decision." The cunning and malicious wife, who harbored intense jealousy towards my son, did not agree to kill the calf and forced me to take a knife and sacrifice it. Scheherazade, who reached this point in her tale, fell silent, and said, "The dawn is breaking." Dinarzade, my dear sister, This story is very sweet. I will finish the rest of it tomorrow night if the Sultan permits it. Shahryar, who was restless to hear the conclusion of the story of the old man and his female dog, and the fate of the old man's beloved son, said to Scheherazade, "You must finish the story tomorrow night." This story continues. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe and hit the bell next to it to be notified of our upcoming videos. Stay in touch with me. Thank you for your companionship.